Hey there, this is Matthew Hill and Carol Ponton back with you for our Hill and Ponton Q&A hour here. We missed last week, but we're glad to be back and hopeful that we can help you with more questions. But we did have a couple good vacations and it's nice to be back and relaxed. We have a couple things we wanted to go over. The main thing we wanted to go over is C&P exams, but we're going to let more folks come in. So what we'll do is just start with some questions and then kind of break out into that sometime in the middle or something. So let's see, what do we got? Michaela, good afternoon. Any advice on what to expect when you go to C&P for Meniere's disease? Ooh, what do you say about that, Carol?
Ooh. Well, first of all, they're probably going to want to find, this is, I assume, to get it service connected and to get it rated. So they're first going to want to find out why Meniere's disease would be service connected. So you need to make sure you're clear about that. And then they're going to talk about what is Meniere's, what problems does it cause you? Dizziness, nausea? Are you having difficulty walking? All of those things they're going to go into. So you should probably make a list of all of the problems that you have with that so that you're prepared to answer them. A lot of times when somebody asks you a question, you can think of the worst part of Meniere's disease, but you don't think of all the other problems that you have. And they're also going to ask you about the frequency. How bad is it? You know, can you work through it? So really be thinking about how it affects you totally. And you might want to ask somebody who knows you, their perception of what happens.
I would also say on that, a lot of times it's secondary to hearing loss. Sometimes it can even be shown secondary to tinnitus. And the interesting thing is hearing loss, tinnitus, the ratings are usually so low. Tinnitus is capped out at 10%. Hearing loss, if you have 20% rating, to me, that almost means you're deaf, like these our clients. But Meniere's disease, the things Carol was just saying, you can hit 100% on the rating schedule rating for that. So it is really important to write those down. Even if you brought in a buddy statement or two of people who watch you and observe you, those are things that the C&P examiner has to take into account.
And remember, the VA is always trying to find a way where the Meniere's disease is not related to service. So you want to be really clear about the things that have caused it. When did it start? How is it related to your service-connected problems?
Bobby Bird, everyone is telling me I need to get my VA medical records, but I have no clue where to start. Is it online?
Well, the VA medical, if you're talking about VA medical records, not your service medical records, but your VA medical records, the VA now has, if you have My Healthy Vet,
My Healthy
Vet, then you can actually go online and download your own VA, all of your VA exams that you, all of the VA medical records you've ever had. It's awesome. So you need to, if you don't already, figure out how to get online, get the password, and then you'll have access to everything that you need. If it's the VA medical records, not service medical records.
Luis Martinez, is it better to file for TBI or residuals first? Because I don't want the VA to put them all under TBI if they can be rated higher on their own diagnostic code. So first things first, making sure you put the horse before the cart, is that you have to have an underlying disability service connected. It looks like the TBI is the disability related service. So you need to, well, Carol's going to have a little bit different thing here. You need to get that service connected. Okay. So that's the thing you focus on, getting service connected. I would agree with her here in that you list everything else anyway. Okay. You list all the other issues, all the problems, the TBI you call us, like the residuals you say, or secondary conditions. Okay. All of those are listed, and the VA has to determine, first of all, is it service connected? And then second of all, what should the rating be? Should the rating be 1, including all those, or should you have breakout ratings for all of them? It's a 2-step process in that you got to get it service connected. That's your first focus. And then your second focus is the rating or the ratings. Okay. But Carol would tell you, you want to put them all in at the same time so that your effective date is the same time going back, because they might make you fight for a while because they're
the VA
smart on this issue, especially TBI issues. Okay, Michael Gilbert, I am 100% P&T as of July 21. I have 2 other claims that could be approved that were filed in 2020. If I'm awarded those 2 claims, would they have put me over 100% as well? Do I get a new date? Yes, you do. We go back to that date. Tony Forrest, thanks for all your videos on PTSD. You're welcome. I had my C&P last week and was rated at 50%. I'm now 70 total. I was previously denied sleep apnea, but was going to be fine. But I'm going to be filing a supplemental secondary claim to PTSD. Good. if if there's a question that I missed because that was kind of long later, please bring that back up to me so I make sure that gets answered. Alonzo, filing for TDIU, not yet submitted. File intent to a file 2 months ago, waiting for upcoming appointments. I will be filing presumptive asthma, already being denied for this. Will I lose my IF date? I got to tell you, I really don't like intent to file forms. I mean, my thought is go ahead and file it. And my reasoning is if you file a claim and you first file it or you file it with some kind of new relevant evidence, they got to start doing work. They got to go get your medical records. They got to go get private medical records. They got to get service records. My thought is the way that the statute is laid out, the way the VA regulation states, they have the duty to assist you win the claim. So they have the duty to do the work for you. So I would go ahead and file those things. That's me.
I'm with you.
Yeah. So I would be, get that in.
For some reason, a lot of veterans say, no, I don't want to file until I have all my evidence. You don't want to do that, then you're losing benefits. Remember, you only get benefits starting the month after you file your claim, which is the other reason if you have, like you were talking about TBI residuals, you want to make sure they're all listed because the VA may take the position, well, you didn't tell us about the headaches with the TBI, and so that's going to start the month after you told us about the headaches. So don't cut yourself short.
Yeah, and make them start working for you.
Yes.
Bobby Bird, can you file PTSD if you were in doing a conflict but wasn't deployed, just training to be deployed? Yes, you don't have to be in a combat situation to file PTSD. The majority of, we've represented thousands of people with PTSD, majority of whom were not in combat.
Right.
And I say, and there's a couple things to that. One, that's interesting because, you'd figure that people would be in combat to get that, but the majority of people who serve were not in combat. Okay. And then two, the folks who are in combat, I won't say they had an easier time, but they can show where they were. That makes it not as difficult to get service connected. So, you got a disability, you think it's related, no matter what it is, you file for it.
They're going through the military training. Horrible accidents happen in training. There's so much that happens that could give you PTSD before you get into combat. But like Matt said, and it's harder to get those claims because the combat people have been in combat and therefore the stressors are usually conceded. Yeah. So get your claim going and make sure they know exactly what you ran into and get witnesses for that.
Okay, Sad Fam, any news on BBA AMA backlog? No. However, I was actually thinking about this morning because I was so frustrated on a case. Carol and I, God willing, the creek don't rise and COVID doesn't ruin it. We're going to a conference at the end of this month where the BBA chairman is speaking to us, and I'll tell you for damn sure, we're asking that question.
That'll be number one.
What is going on with backlog? Where are you? Give us, as certain, timeframes as possible. So we don't have that now, but we're a little sick, and that we're both salivating, thinking about when we get to ask this question, because trust us, this is huge on our mind as well, because our cases are just sitting there and we are getting no feedback. And I know you're frustrated, and we are too. So as soon as we get that, we'll probably be in here doing a little dance or something, telling you, and hopefully we have the information. All right, sorry, that was too long. Mr. B, my CMP exam is being reworked. What does that mean? VA sent the CMP exam back to the examiner. Yeah, it's kind of a guessing game, but usually what that means is they didn't get the question they asked answered. Doctors are not always good at this. Doctors will look at something and just say, this is what I think, and they won't even read the question. So that's what I see a lot of times. Sometimes they'll ask for more detail. Sometimes they'll ask about like a secondary condition. So
sometimes they'll ask for, okay, you said it's not service connected, but you didn't say why. You didn't give me a reason, or your reason isn't sufficient, or you said it is service connected, but your reasoning isn't sufficient. Is this a good time we can talk about? This is.
Hold on, let's wait off for a little. We got CMP exam issues that we're going to talk about because we're getting a lot of questions internally.
Exactly.
And we're seeing a lot of things going wrong.
Because that's one of the things we're
seeing. I want to make sure we usually get a few more people on. Anyway, so a little bit, 5 minutes, we'll talk more about that. Let's see, glad that you are on and had rejuvenating time. Thank you, Kyle. Bobby Bird, I need to get my military service records. It's a question. Again, the VA should get those for you. The VA has an ability to get them faster. And so what I would ask for is your CMP, your C file. from them. If they do not contain them, then you can send in a form SA 180 to the National Archives to get them. However, the National Archives got decimated by COVID, and as far as backup, as far as backlog, because they lost so many employees, it was closed for so long that they are taking years to get records out. So VA has a little bit easier time getting them, and hopefully you can get that through.
Right, they'll respond to them a lot quicker than they will to you.
John Gold, thank you, or good afternoon, Matt and Carol. Thank you for these amazing live videos. I appreciate that, John.
Thank you.
Paul Whitesell, hello, I'm 100% PNT, 55 years old, and retired from federal LEO. Should I file for SSDI?
If you're insured for it, yes. Remember, absolutely.
Yeah.
You can get both.
And yeah, they don't offset.
They don't,
Luis Martinez, can you file diabetes second to sleep apnea? You're service connected for sleep apnea. It's keeping you from sleeping.
If the medical, I think it does. If the medical literature supports that, absolutely.
You can always file it.
Yeah.
They should give you a thorough CP exam. They probably won't. So you need an outside doc or your VA doc to say, hey.
But primarily, if you're going to go on to Google and look to see if they have medical treatises that say diabetes can be caused by sleep apnea, I would submit those with your claim.
That's your, well, yeah.
So that shows, because otherwise you get, and you may not read it, otherwise you'll get, did not have diabetes in the service. Therefore, it's not service connected, which is not the issue. So once you put those records in showing it's secondary to sleep apnea, then hopefully the doctor will note that, or at least the rater will.
Mr. B, VSO stated the sent letter, sent me a letter, and the VA stating no letter was sent. Who do I believe? That's tough. I mean, I got to tell you,
we send in a bunch of stuff that's not sent. So
right, so that they've done that across the board.
I'm talking the VA.
System, sorry, the VA. Their mailing system is not great. I would always ask it's sent certified mail. If they're not sending it certified mail, then you send it certified mail. Okay, because the VA, I would give the benefit of the doubt to the VSO.
I sure would too.
Because
we have been asked numerous and said you didn't submit it. This is before you could upload. Now that we can upload, things are much better. But before that, we were constantly, you didn't submit that. And luckily we have our certified receipts showing that we sent it.
Yeah. Harold Jackson, I'm 50% disabled for lumbar spine and depression. The CMP study says that I have sleep apnea now. Will a sleep apnea be awarded also? If the CMP exam said this is secondary to your lumbar spine, then yes. However, if you don't have a claim for sleep apnea, meaning you haven't filed it, they will not. They should send, based on that evidence, they should invite a claim for sleep apnea. Meaning VA says, okay, hey, look, we got evidence here. You should file this claim. But if you do not file the claim, they will not give it to you.
And don't wait around.
Yeah,
go ahead and file.
This is new. This is new, part of the AMA. It's another way to reduce the volume because it's work they don't want to do. All right. Let's see. John 21870 did a video conference August 12, 2020, BVA. Have had my claim for 3 years. Any word on the backlog? Now, John, we're still waiting. The fact that you did a video conference, I would hope in the next several months, because usually what they do is they give it to their attorney writer after you have the conference. But I don't know.
It used to be that around May, they gave us access to what was going on at the BVA. They have since made it worthless because you can't tell anything now, but we could actually see that a decision had been made, and it would say, ready to go to mail. And sometimes it would sit there for 2 months and not be mailed out. So, that's the problem. Now they're not doing any of that. They're saying they don't have time to let us know. So we can't tell. But during that time period, you saw all sorts of things. You could see the case hadn't been sent to a judge, and you could see that it had been sent and it's sitting there. But even once it's signed, it could sit there for months.
Yeah.
It's not good news, but it's the truth.
Rick Roku, what's up, happy team? Please don't get ticked. Anyway, I read on a lot of Reddit forums that lawyers turn down a lot of bets, but they advertise all the time. Not dropping hints though, continued. Anyway, just for future reference, can you tell us what will determine whether you take a case or not? So there's a lot of things. One, here's a big difference between us and veteran service officers. veteran service officers have money from the government. They have money from funding that comes from, private donations. And they have a mission to basically take any and every veteran who needs help. Okay. So they can take everybody. We, on the other hand, if, the way our contract works, if we don't win a case, we don't get any money. And, we can invest anywhere from, 3 to 5 to 10 years in a case.
Not counting the IMEs, which are
yeah,
3 to
one of
5
the first
thousand.
cases I took was a back case that went on for 5 years, finally got service connected, 20% vet maxed out. And we had spent $3,000 on IMEs, just outside ortho opinions. And meanwhile, her back pay was maybe $2,000 or $3,000. We didn't take a fee on that, and she couldn't even really pay off the IMEs. So not only did we lose 5 years of work product, we were out of pocket. And I quickly realized that if I wanted to keep our firm open, and our employees and their families working, we had to be more selective. So there is, the Reddit folks will say there's turning down for monetary part. It is, I get it. I've known 2 big firms who had something like 5,000 cases each or so that went out of business because they were taking all kinds of cases. So there's that. I mean,
Even being selective, I have a guy who died last week with no survivors. I have $6,000 in, you're not gonna love that, $6,000 in IME costs and 3 years of work. So that's what Matt's saying. People see where we win and we get money, but you don't see all the cases, and we're being selective because we know how difficult it is. I can't tell you how many veterans they win right after they die. And so there's no benefit because they have survivors, and there's, it's difficult to balance because, that's why Matt stopped letting me take new client calls, because I would take everybody because I feel sorry. I want to help everybody, but we can't do that. We can't do that and do a good job for everybody.
For us, quality matters. Okay. And so we have had this open hiring spree for the last 3 years, trying to hire people, bring people in so that we could grow our caseload. But we can only handle so many cases before we're not doing a good job. And that's not what people are paying us for. So quality matters. So, but the other part of your question, what kind of case? We tend towards more complicated cases. By that, I mean, lots of toxic issues we see.
We know they're not going to win. The Thailand exposure to Agent Orange, a lot of the cases where we know they're just not going to win if we don't get this evidence for them. But that's a harder case because it's going to have to go to the board.
Mental health claims, especially PTSD, and then I'd say a large subgroup of that is military sexual trauma or assault cases, because it's strange. The VA just routinely does not do its job in those cases, routinely ignores its own rules. So I'd say those are some of the bigger cases we do. Basically, the cases we look at and say, this is a case the vet's going to need an outside exam that we think we can get and win. And then a case also that we think, hey, we can get a payout that not only is going to cover the exam, but also cover our attorney's time and keep the lights on. So it's a balance. So there's people in Reddit, they have a gripe. They're right. We just don't have funding like the VSOs do to where they have to take any and every case, and we can't do that. So that's why
we're doing this, because we both really feel bad that we can't take all these cases. So we're doing this to give you everything that I've learned and everything that comes up during the week that we see as problems for the clients we have, which is why, can I talk now about that?
Okay, fine. She's been wanting to talk about CMP exams and some of the problems and concerns we've seen internally.
Okay, so it used to be that the VA did all the CMP exams, and then they got really behind. And it also, at the same time, turned out that some of these Boeing and some of the military contract people were slowing down in what they were creating. So 3 companies evolved: LHI, QTC, and VES. And now the VA does no CMP exams, and these 3 companies do all of them. So they pick who's going to be, so the VA will assign a case to LHI. Okay, LHI then has your case. And what they try to do is they try to get you to get all exams done by their doctors. And that's why you're getting these requests. Will you see my neurologist who lives 100 miles away? And, they don't want to give that case up. So they're going to be telling you, we don't have any other doctor. You have to go to them. That is not true. you can say, then send me over and let the other companies that may have doctors closer to me set this up. And we're seeing a lot of problems, and they don't want to get rid of your case because that's money they're losing. So they're going to try to keep you. You have a right to have the exam nearby to you. So if you're not getting any help from them, say, I want to talk to the VA person in charge of this. The other problem that we're running into is exactly what the guy said earlier. What is going on with these exams? I have clients that are having the exact same exams a week later that they already had, where it's an evaluation of their back. They don't know what's going on. We don't know what's going on. I can tell you it's you. I have yet to hear it from anybody other than LHI. So I'm really concerned about what's going on with them. Why are they the ones that have to redo everything? So I'm just letting you know that's what I'm seeing. If y'all are seeing it from QTC or VES, let me know. But the problem is, if you don't show up for these exams, then the VA will deny you.
Even if you showed up the week before.
Even if you showed up the week before. So you don't really have much choice. And I feel for you because this is happening across the board. I can't tell you how many of my clients have been calling in and complaining about what is going on. Or LHI had a number of my clients drive the 50 miles for the appointment, and they show up and there's no appointment, even though the day before they had called and confirmed they were coming. So I am noting a lot of problems with LHI. So I think that you need to document this with your congressman if this is happening to you, because they're the ones that set up this program and they want it to work. And if they find out that this company is not working like it should, then hopefully we will work with the companies that do it correctly. Okay.
And I'll be the paranoid one here, or the conspiracy theorist. Conspiracy theorist more out there. LHI gets paid for every single exam they send you to. So if they're sending you 3 exams and then they're repeating the exams, I have a feeling that they're getting paid for that, which again, this would be great to bring to your congressman because this is a load of crap.
Yes.
It's been very frustrating for us to see claims be slowed down so much.
And it's so frustrating for the clients. They're sick, they're not well, and they're being sent all over. And then either they doesn't show up, or oops, we got to do it again with no explanation, nothing. Show up. So start calling your congressman and complain, please.
Okay, that was it's kind of like a brief interruption, commercial break. I don't know. All right, James Monroe. Can tinnitus cause headaches and neck pain? If so, what were the percentages of the awards for those 2 conditions? Have you had that before?
Well, yeah, I've had where tinnitus did cause headaches.
Definitely. Yeah.
And then it's evaluated under the headache schedule. 10% if you have one at least once a month, 30% if you have to lie down, prostrating, and 50% if it interferes with your ability to make money, an economic loss. Okay.
Meaning you can work, but you have to go home early or
miss work.
That kind of stuff. So yes.
Tinnitus, and what was the other one?
If it can cause a neck pain.
Never heard that. No.
Rudy taking my CP exam in 3 hours, perfect timing. Oh, hey, good. Remy 86, hello there to you. My intent to file will reach a year next month. How do I keep it current and not lose my filing date? Again, file the claim right now.
And file for everything you feel like you're entitled to.
I've seen so many C-files where the intent to file was in there and then the claim never got filed at the time, so that lost all that back pay. So file it. Tom Anita Wilson, will this meeting affect me? I need more information on that. Tony Forrest, most videos I see are directed to active duty service. Could you do a video sometime to better explain the challenges that National Guard and reserves have and what they can claim as disability? This is one of 2, so 2 Forrest. Can National Guard reserves only claim time on active duty? What about active duty for training or state emergency duty? Okay, we got to go back to the one on the VA backlog. So easy answer here is state emergency duty. You do not get VA benefits for that. So if you go, the riots and the governor sent you out, stop that, and you get hit on top of the head, that does not count, unfortunately. Active duty for training is considered to be active duty. However, you can only get service connected for an injury and not a disease.
Right. So say, if you have high blood pressure, you're not going to get it. If you have diabetes, you're not going to get it. But say you fell off a tower and injured yourself, you're going to get it. Say you had a heart attack because you were doing something really strenuous, that's covered. So yes, you're covered, but it's not, you aren't given the presumption of wellness that you are when you're in a regular service. Another thing is a lot of those records get lost. It's very hard a lot of times for us to find or locate those.
Quarterly report, that's,
Yeah. So if something happens to you while you're in the active National Guard or whatever, get a couple of friends to verify what happened. That's a lot. We've won a lot of cases because of that.
Yeah.
Either your sergeant or whoever's over you. What about the BVA?
So there was a question that I didn't just answer from Tom. Anita, I think the meeting question was about the committee or the WE you mentioned like 10 minutes ago, where you plan about asking the, okay, so that's, we're going to the National Organization of Veterans Advocates Conference. That is at the end of this month.
September 30th.
Yeah, in DC. So hopefully, we'll go to that, and the week after we'll have a lot more information.
The chief judge shows up, and she has been really good about telling us the truth. I mean, we had people before that never said anything, and she's wonderful. So she will tell us, and she'll listen to us. I have, I was telling you when we talked before about there's legacy, and then there's the AMA that we're in now. The legacy claims were where you file the VA-9. They continue to list hearing requests for every single VA-9 that's been filed. I don't know if they're doing that to slow them down. I don't know what, but that's the one thing you can look into and make sure that it's corrected if it's wrong, because otherwise your case is going to sit there for 5 or 6 years waiting for the hearing you never asked for. Right. Okay. The others, we don't know why they're taking so long versus what they should be doing.
Let's see, Richard Darling. How can I get diagnosed first? How can I get diagnosed? How can I get a diagnosed condition service connected? So 3 main parts are something happened in service, you have a diagnosed condition, you have what's called a nexus to that. So you have a doctor saying, the hypertension you have now was related to the high blood pressure you had in service, or, the neck, the cervical spine injury that you had in service is related to the degenerative disc disease you have in your neck
and causing numbness down your arm.
Yeah. So you need to show something happened in service in addition to your story, something that help corroborate your story, and then you need to have a doctor. They should supply a doctor with the CMP exams.
And this is what the doctors look for, or supposed to look for. They're supposed to look for, has this continued? Did you hurt your neck in service and it got well and you never had a problem until yesterday or 2 months ago? So it's called that it's chronic chronicity. So you want to make sure, if that's been the problem, that you've had this all along, and make sure they know, yes, I was treated for it. No, I don't have the records because the doctor retired or whatever. Okay.
Or that you just suffered from it and life was.
I didn't have the money. The VA wouldn't treat us back then.
Yeah, work, you had kids. I mean, if you could say, hey, I consistently struggle with the same problem, they got to consider that.
That's why I couldn't do certain jobs or whatever happened. Give them a picture so that they can relate the two. Otherwise, you're going to have the doctor saying, yeah, they were hurt in service, but it got well and this is another injury. Okay.
James alias, I'm rated 91% and applied for TDIU. What is next if they disapprove? If you can't work because of that, you appeal. That's what's next. I mean, if you have another disability, so it's 9%, so they need like a 20%. I don't know. Yeah, if you have another disability or two, I would file that because you're so close. But if you can't work because of those disabilities, you appeal. And
that sounds reasonable. I mean, 91%, you've got a lot of disabilities. So I would definitely pursue that.
Michael Gilbert, I have 2 claims that predated my 100%. If these 2 claims get approved, will my 100% get backdated? Yes, it will.
Well, you don't know if he's going to get 100%.
If he gets 100%,
yeah.
You'll get back.
Regardless, if you get it, you'll get back
to
whatever rating it was.
Nicholas, my VA doctor refuses to give me a diagnosis for hypertension, even though they put me on blood pressure meds. Should I still file for hypertension or wait till I get my diagnosis? File and
get another doctor. No, I'm serious.
You can ask the VA for another doctor.
Yeah, you can tell him he's putting him on medicine, but he says I don't have hypertension. I want another doctor. And if they don't give you one, you go to the head of the medical facility, because even though he or she won't talk to you, they'll make sure somebody does so they don't have to talk to you. Okay.
And they don't get in trouble.
Right.
James Sellers, I'm service connected for hypertension. Can I file diabetes secondary to hypertension medication?
It's second. Yes. Diabetes.
It's not just the medication.
It's not the medication. It's secondary.
But they're going to hypertension itself.
To the hypertension, but they're going to look to see, what did you have first? Did you have diabetes first, or did you have hypertension? So make sure you look for that.
Scott Reach, good afternoon. Thanks for all your videos. We appreciate that, Scott. I filed for PTSD, tinnitus, and knee condition in early July. Have C&P exams for all three, including x-rays on my knees. Hoping for a decision soon. Well, I hope you would too if they already got that. Tom Dix, what happened to your claim after you have a hearing with the VA judge? So the BVA judge, takes your testimony, hopefully ask you some questions, you hand in whatever you hand in. And then from there, they assign it to an attorney, a BVA attorney to write up a draft. They say, here's what I want to do. Send it to that attorney. The attorney comes back, gives them the draft. If it is what they want, then they go ahead and sign it, send it out. So it could take a month. It could take 5 or 6 months. It just depends on what that workflow between those two.
A lot of times, if they're going to approve something, it comes out quicker because they don't feel like they have to defend it as much. Mm-hmm. If they're going to deny, then a lot of times it takes a lot longer because they know it may be appealed up to the Court of Appeals, and they want to make sure that everything is in there. Joe, but you can't I wouldn't assume anything because it seems to take forever. Okay.
Joe, I got denied for back pain. There's evidence that I've been complaining about back pain while I was in service. What should I do now? So you should appeal. And back to what Carol said earlier, you need to show the chronicity, meaning like between the time you got out and now, if you have medical records of that, phenomenal. If you don't, just talk about
witness statements.
Witness statements.
You want witness statements from people who knew you before and after service. No problem before, after service. This is what I saw. He didn't want to play football with us. He complained about his back. He kept groaning. He would go to the doctor. He was taking Tylenol all the time. Get as many statements as you can, but make sure the statements that I see that are no good for you is where they talk about what a nice person you were and how dedicated you were. And while all that,
get the benefits.
You should get the benefits. That doesn't help you with this claim. You have to go to the facts. No problem before service, after service. I used to play golf with him before service all the time. We used to play football all the time. Now he can't do, as soon as he got out of service, he couldn't do any of those. So stick to the issues. No problem before. This is a problem right after. The other problem I see with these witness statements is they're vague. They keep talking about now. Now he can't do this or she can't do this. Well, now is not the issue. The issue is what happened right after service.
The gap. All right. Let's see, Joe. Robert West, filing claims for diabetes, high blood pressure, strokes, memory loss, chronic bilateral lower and upper back fracture, sleep apnea, and neck pain. Using prolonged sitting as the example of exposure. Thoughts?
I'm not sure.
I guess he's saying that he was sedentary and it caused all that.
Prolonged what?
Sitting.
Couldn't have.
Example of exposure. So Robert, we need more information as far as what you mean by example of exposure. Not seeing a claim there if it's just saying you're sitting, even if you're in for 20 and you're behind a desk. Blackwood Shark, I am not considered competent by needing regular aid. Am I not considered competent by needing regular aid and attendance? No, those are two separate things. Competence in VA terms for a fiduciary solely means, are you mentally able to
handle your funds?
Handle your funds. Thank you. In a reasonable manner.
Do you know what your income is, and do you know what your bills are?
Right.
They're going to ask you that, and if you say yes, and I take care of them, you're competent.
Yeah.
That's what competent means in this situation.
Aid and attendance is more about physically or mentally. Can you handle your day to day? Getting out of bed, feeding yourself,
remembering your medication, remember to go to the doctor. That doesn't show incompetence. That's memory loss.
They overlap, but they're two different things.
But they're two different things. And that's why a lot of people don't want to get aid and attendance, which is a mistake. Aid and attendance can take your 3,100 of permanent total up to 4,000 and some a month. Okay.
I don't know about that math. We're lawyers. Don't ever trust lawyers on math.
But so what I'm saying is, don't fail to file for aid and attendance just because you're worried about that one question, are you competent? Because if you know your income, you pay your bills, you're competent. You just don't go in there and say, I don't know what my bills are. I don't know what happens to my money.
Sometimes what happens is you'll go in and say, my wife handles all the bills.
Right.
They will ding you on that sometimes, which is ridiculous. So you say, hey, look, my wife is primarily in charge of the bills, but we talk about it. Or I know
we agree.
I know where the money's going.
Right. We agree on how they'll be paid. Okay.
Blackwood Shark, sorry, Blackwood Estate. So that AB. If I'm 100% but not permanent total, should I claim for more than just in case they lower down my claim? What's going to happen if I'm permanent total, but they lower down one of my claims? Okay, so I would consider just appealing the 100% rating if it's still within 100, still within a year, saying that this should also be permanent total. A lot of times they'll correct it right there.
I would, yeah, a lot of times it won't. So if you think you have other claims, I would file them. But I can tell you, if you do nothing, they're going to reevaluate you to see if you continue to be at whatever 100% rating so that they can knock you down. So until you have been found permanent and total, expect to be reevaluated. Okay, so you have nothing to lose by going in and filing for additional things that you think you might be entitled to.
Nicholas, if you had a bad CMP for migraines and they didn't write down what you said, how do you dispute that? You write a letter saying, I said A, B, C, and D. I see nowhere on the CMP printout where that was actually stated or considered, and just say, I want a new exam.
Or
and a new examiner.
This examiner said I could only bend this far, They never evaluated me for that. I was in there like 10 minutes and they sat and talked to me. That's all that happened. This fails the duty to assist. Okay, because you have the right to a real exam, not a
half-ass exam.
Yeah.
Sorry, technical terms. Rich Roku, thanks for answering that. I always was wondering how that worked. Rick, we try to be honest. Sometimes our honesty is not appreciated. People get mad at us, but we can't take all cases, and this is mainly why we do this, to see if we can help folks that we couldn't help, or we're just looking to do it on their own. Darkbeard, I'm 100% PNC service connected. I filed for Social Security this year. What are my chances for approval? Used to be you should have gotten it almost automatically if you're 100%. Now the Social Security is denying those. Social Security is similar to VA in that the percentage of the win rate percentage goes up the more you appeal. So at the initial, they deny, I don't know, in the 60, 70%. Recon, it's less. And you got a little bit better shot if you have to go before a judge.
But here's the problem, and I did Social Security for years, is tell me who the judge is and I'll tell you if you win. And that's sad, but that's the truth. So it used to, and I have to tell you, I did see a lot of sympathy toward veterans. So that may be a positive in your case, but I'm telling you, they have gotten to be ridiculously difficult. Okay. And you might ask around. A lot of times people know you don't have a choice, but if you have to live in an area where they have really bad judges, you might think of moving because you're not going to win. That's how bad it is.
Look that up. You can look that up online.
They have it online, and they have the percentages of favorable decisions these judges make.
Yeah. Okay, Michael Boston, help my confession on TDIU. Can you still work in a sheltered environment?
Yes.
And still be able to tile, or do you have to be unemployed at the time of filing? Yes, you can work. It's a misnomer, unemployability. You can. There are a lot of loopholes with sheltered. I actually had a vet this week that's making over $100,000, but he's unemployable because he works for his sister, who basically lets him sit in the office and do nothing. So that's not true employment.
And there's some VA jobs that are sheltered employment. There are a lot of VA jobs.
We've won cases for,
and people are making $70,000 and $80,000 a year, but they're under the sheltered VA employment.
Yeah. Let's see, next question. John Gold, my daughter is my caregiver and she has medical authority via medical POA through VHA, so the Veterans Health Administration. I'm 100% homebound status. How can I get my daughter as POA for the money before BVA asks about competency? That is so tough. I mean, you could put in a claim to say, I don't even know.
I don't think, the problem is they don't have to listen to you. They can pick anyone they want. And I had a case where a veteran's sister had been taking care of him for years. She had been using her money to help. So when he was found incompetent, they wouldn't pick her even though he wanted, because she had a couple of late bills.
What I would consider doing is having your daughter start a spreadsheet. If she's already handling your money, saying, you got, if you're 100%, you got $3,000 or whatever coming in a month, and she shows exactly where that goes month by month. So, because I don't know that you can initiate this, but by the time they come to you, you can say, well, this is what my daughter's been doing, and she can hand all that in and show that. But she does need to be on top of her own finances as well. I swear they have these, this is me being conspiracy theory again, but they have these people.
Yes.
What are they called?
They're fiduciaries
that they send cases to. These people do nothing, and they get to charge 4% of your money.
No, they can charge more than that.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and so they get your money, and then they
tell you
your
what
bills,
you can do,
and they tell you whether you can have your money or not. No. They approve it, and I hear terrible complaints about these people, and we have no control over it. It's not considered the VA.
All right, I noticed the term, this is Tom Dix, Atsugi syndrome for people who were stationed in NAF at Atsugi when the Jinkapu incinerator was operational. Does VA consider this term as acceptable cause of disabilities?
I don't know anything about that.
I have not heard that. That is really fascinating. So I don't know. So you're basically saying, is that the incident in service? I'm not sure about that. It looks fascinating to me. Looks like some kind of poison that was in Japan, obviously. Well, I don't know. I put it in there. I mean, there's definitely lots of facts on it. There's websites just for this. So that looks pretty interesting. That's a toxic case that you're probably going to need some kind of toxicologist or etiologist to look at to try to get a service connected for. Sergeant King, LHI shorted me on my mileage. Doesn't surprise us.
No.
Rudy, my PTSD is from combat and it shows in my record. I heard that there's no need for CMP if you were in a combat zone. Yet I have an exam. Do you know why? Yeah, not true there. They are going to concede the exposure to a trauma, but they're still going to put you through the evaluation of, do you actually have PTSD?
That's related to the trauma.
Well, first of all, do you have PTSD?
Yes.
And second, that's related to trauma. But don't be shocked if they come to this determination that you do not have PTSD. A lot of times I'm seeing now is that you have trauma of other significant trauma. Other stressor, which is a load of garbage.
But remember to get that PTSD DBQ, Disability Benefits Questionnaire, download it and look at the questions under criteria. That's on page 4. It starts off with A, and you have to have, the VA has decided that you have to have something in each one of these criteria or you couldn't possibly have PTSD. So I tell my veterans, you write down something, don't take in the form, but on a different piece of paper, write down something that relates to each one of those criteria. And every time you go in for a mental examination, you bring that, because they also, the VA, have amnesia. Just because you were, and they ask this, I've seen the requests on the exam, does the veteran still have the same diagnosis? And if not, why not? So you need to make sure that you tell them every time you go the answers to those criteria. I don't want any of my clients going in there without doing that.
Enough of that. Let's settle that. Bill McGrath, my claim for dementia has been remanded back to the regional office for error under the new appeals process. The RO is open to supplemental claim. Your opinion, is this a good thing or are they just jerking me around? So I am assuming that the BBA remanded back because the RO, higher level review, can also remand it back. This jerking you around under these remands is unfortunately nothing new. They've done this for decades and decades and decades. Your job, and this goes for all of you all, your job is not to give up due to their incompetency and due to their making you kind of run back and forth all over the game. If you have a good claim, a claim you feel is related to service, even though they're making you do this again and again, or as Carol said, sending you 3 CMP exams for the same thing again and again, do it. Okay. Because this, I'd say it's more incompetency typically on these, but I don't know.
But the other thing you need to do is, why did they send you back? Did they send you back because the evaluation was not complete? Were there questions that weren't answered? I mean, why are they sending you back? Are they sending you back because they felt it wasn't service connected? Did they send you back because they felt like they didn't get enough information regarding your diagnosis? That's really key, because you may be able to give them this additional evidence to help your case. Okay.
Jeremy, it's a telehealth app, and I'm worried about these contract disability review companies. I think you might have said earlier that you're going to an exam. That's where we are right now. I mean,
no, you have a right to have it in person.
Oh, yeah. You're still going to get a contracted.
Yeah, you're still going to get one of the LHI, QES, and QTC, and DES. You're going to get one of those three. VA doesn't do it anymore, but you can make sure that when you go, you're totally evaluated. And if you feel like a tele-evaluation is not what you need, then you need to say, no, I'm not having this. I want it in person, and you have a right to that. The reason they stopped doing it was because of COVID. You have a right to have it. Okay, so I would insist on that.
Preston, Robert, could you have your paralegals call me? Lawyer Stephanie, I'm confused about my status. I will reach out to them after this and ask them to give me a call. Anthony, I lost my bladder from cancer. The VA gave me 60%. You think I should appeal for a higher rating?
Yes.
Well, isn't that the highest rating? Again, this is where I'd go back to, if you can't work and you have this rating, apply for 1, a higher rating, and 2, for unemployability, and either or, because I gotta imagine that makes working in a normal environment as a
almost impossible.
Right. So
I don't have my rating book, but like, do you have an indwelling catheter? Oh. I don't really know. Voiding is the big key here now. So this is what they're looking for, the residuals of this cancer. So if you're totally incontinent, that should be able to move him off, shouldn't it? I don't have my rating.
Yeah, I was trying to pull it up. Hey, Ephraim, could you throw up the rating code for him?
You need to make sure they know what's going on with you, because a lot of times they rate you on voiding. How many times do you have to change a pad or something like that? But if you are totally incontinent, or if you have an indwelling catheter, then you're not changing pads maybe, but they need to know that. And a lot of times I find that they don't, for some reason, they don't know that. A lot of times they only look at their VA records, and maybe you're being treated somewhere else, or maybe they don't look at the records. So you need to make sure whatever your situation is, it's in front of them.
Just trying to see here, post-operative, yeah, they're saying injury. If you look at, I think Ephraim put that up, the code, but it's the urinary system. I'm not good with long words, sorry, but it's section 4.115A and 4.115B. That should somewhere in there. Look at those. See where your symptoms lie. See what if it's better for dysfunction or diagnosis.
And I would be surprised if you don't have some depression because of this. Have you filed a claim for depression secondary to this? They fight you tooth and nail sometimes on these physical things, but when it's a mental thing, they'll give you a 50% rating like that. So I'd also make sure you filed anything additional that you may have because of the bladder cancer.
Okay, we're running into fast time here. Carol's got to go, so let's do some quick questions. Jeremy had first appointment with VA PCM. He wants to forward me to the VA mental health to evaluate my mental health at 30%. Is it normal to feel like a contract CMP examiner provider didn't spend enough time? Yes. Covering your stuff. You got to advocate for your stuff. Tell them, hey, here's the significant problems. Here's what I'm dealing with. And if you didn't do that, as Carol said earlier, pull the CMP exam that he did and write a letter saying, he didn't ask me this, he didn't ask me that. These are the other symptoms.
I said this, he said that.
Let's see, Jamie Morano, can you briefly describe exactly what lower extremities consist of, please? I'm 80% and wondering if my knees and ankles are included in this condition. Lower extremities, it just depends on what you have in terms of the disability. So if you have radiculopathy, if you have lower back pain, lumbar back disorder, and they say you have radiculopathy in your lower extremities, that means that your nerves going through your legs are affected. That does not mean if you have a separate problem with your knee or your ankle, an orthopedic problem, with movement or with stability, that should be rated separately. So,
Right.
so that would be something to look for. Same thing with diabetes and neuropathy. Neuropathy is very much like radiculopathy.
But have you specifically filed claims for these? That way, make sure you have.
Yeah. Siobhan Herbert, I had a C&P exam that included migraines claim, said I had to lay down to get rid of it, and happens about 2 times a month. They rated me at 0. Still waiting for the rest of the claim. So you need to write
Look
a
at
letter
that
out.
exam.
Yeah, you
Yes.
look at the exam and you need to write them and say, I told this person I have to lay down, and tell them how long you have to lay down, where you have to lay down, and what does it affect? Does it affect your work? Does it affect your ability to interact with your family?
Can you concentrate?
Yeah.
Can you take any noise or light?
So that's bogus. They do that all the time.
But the good thing is, if you're service connected, now you're just fighting to get it higher.
Exactly.
So that is good.
That is nice. Linda Seal, my sister was at Fort McClellan in the 70s for basic MOS and later CID. She's 30% for PTSD, has tremors, bladder cancer removed after thyroid medication and heart surgery. I don't know, you didn't put a question there, but she needs to answer all those things. Or sorry, she needs to file all those things. They're probably related to the toxins, especially in the 70s. So she needs to file for all those and fight for it. If you look, we had that series that Carrie Baker and I did on Fort McClellan, and we uploaded a ton of documents that we use for our cases, documents that we actually had to go to the National Archives to find. But we'll talk about how the toxins were there, and then just kind of relating, if you get a doctor to relate those to those disabilities. All right. Let's see.
Oh, Ephraim told me that I have to ask you to please like us. So please like us.
He's given up on me doing that because I'm not very good. Remember those things? Well, it's like and notify. I think there's 2. We date ourselves on our understanding of this technology, but hopefully we're good enough substantive. Okay, John Gold, if we are your client, should we wait to file another claim for such as ED or wait until advised by H&P? I have no open claims pending this time. I would
let us know. Yeah, let us know if you feel like, see, when we ask you what problems you have, a lot of times people are talking about PTSD and they don't think about the other things. And when I go through the claim file, I try to look for those things, but you know your condition better than anyone. So please let us know right away. Should I file a claim for this? Should I file a claim for that? Okay.
Okay, we got time for about 2 more questions here. Let's see. Trying to find folks that we haven't helped out yet. Davis, been trying to get an appointment with VA about my Lyme's disease post-connected problems. Bell's palsy approved my medical, showed the exact same strain in my spinal tap, but VA can't prove it. Prove I had it, but VA can't prove I had it. Okay, I'm not sure what I'm sorry, I'm not sure what the question is there. Sergeant King, I was denied.
Okay, I think what but I'm thinking they can't prove I had it. So what you want to do is show, once again, if you can't prove you don't have to say what you're not a doctor. You don't have to say what the diagnosis is, but you get witness to say, no problem before service. After this, these are the things that I noticed. They can come up with a diagnosis, but there was clearly something wrong with you. So I would attack it that way if you haven't before. Okay.
Okay, Sergeant King, I was denied. Can I appeal? I was denied PTSD. Can I appeal? I have an exam 3 months ago with LHI. Should I request a new exam? I would maybe appeal to higher level review and say, again, get your exam and just do a rebuttal. This is what I said. This was not noted. This is right
and
there.
Say failure of duty to assist. Those are the key words. Okay. They don't want to send a case up to the BVA, which would be your next move, where they have done this. They want to correct that error. So they will give you a new C&P exam.
11 super life. Okay, we're gonna get a couple more people we haven't heard from. I found some things in my military records. I've forgotten that I went sick call. They are bothering me now because I've been out of the military since '06. been sucking it up with Tylenol. Again, this is showing the continuity of whatever problem you had in sick call to now. And as Carol said, you can show it through buddy statements, you can show it through medical records.
And when you go in for your exam, you want to make sure they know it never stopped. Starting the service and I've just sucked it up. I take Tylenol, but I've had this continuously.
EBP 1234. I got approved for an increased rating from 30% to 70% combat related PTSD. I got out in 06. I've had only one job in 14 for 5 months. What would be the effective back date if I went for TDIU? Unfortunately, it's only going to go back to when you file the IU claim. So that way I would file it right away.
Well,
There are instances where you can get it back further. I mean, but those are so technical. That's the kind of thing we look for typically, is to see if they miss these technicalities. Sometimes we're successful. A lot of times we're not. But I would definitely file that right away.
right away today.
That sounds like, yeah. Robert Elliott's, Dr. Bob. In 67, I was assigned TDY to Air America and was a POW. President Nixon whitewashed all our 214s to the point they only show nothing at all in service. How do I change this?
Mm.
Woo.
I know there's an agency in Tampa that's supposed to be able to do that.
They look at top secret records. I would like to, this would be something you need to go to the DOD on, because they would have the records on this. You know, I would ask, have you gone to VA? I would ask for your service records, see where you were.
Personnel military records.
Yeah, because your 214, those are worthless.
Yeah.
They don't say no. So I'd ask for your personnel records first. And then if they don't mention any of this, then I would look to see, I don't know what it would be, some kind of like records change, or even like it's not a FOIA. What is
Amended,
it? When you do it yourself.
the Privacy Act.
Privacy Act request from them about your records. Those
are going to be
Dr.
hard.
Bob, that's definitely hard. And that's,
Right,
not
because
something
they
I'm
don't, you know.
Okay. Let's see, we'll do 2 more. Anthony, if I was diagnosed, we just got so
You're
many.
paying for lunch.
I was just so many to go through here. Anthony, if I was denied high blood pressure 10 years ago when I filed for type 2 diabetes and they gave me a 20% rating, can I file it? Will the retro go back? Retro will not go back, but yes, you can file it. And let's see.
Remember, diabetes can cause hypertension, and hypertension can cause diabetes. That's the crazy thing. So figure out what you had first, because that's going to be important.
Okay, last one. Bill Gluckman Jr. VA stated that they didn't use my DBQ in 2020 due to it being done via telehealth. Has that since changed? Would it be wise to get a new mental health DBQ for a supplemental claim? So Bill, I'm assuming you're talking about your doctor filled this out and not, or a doctor you found filled this out and not theirs, because they are using telehealth.
They have no problem with that.
And they've got double standard in that they will not let private examiners do that. So I would get that filled out. I mean, if you already have one, great. They should send you to a C&P exam. I would wait till they do that. If that exam is not positive, favorable, then I would get that same doctor you had to comment on it and maybe do another exam.
And if they can do it in person, that would be great.
Well, it would be, but even if they do a telemedicine,
Right.
frankly, my preference would be if they can't do in person to do a video, like a Zoom call or something.
Right. Because the BVA doesn't make that
Right.
distinction.
Well, the BVA knows law, and so they
Right.
know that they have to say, well, they can't reject that out of hand just because it was, telemedicine, health telemedicine. So fight that case. That you it sounds like if you have a strong medical opinion, keep on going, and I'd go
Right.
so forth. All right, folks. Well, that is what we have for today. And again, I wish we could answer all the questions. I know we have so many more. Please come back. I was trying to make sure, but yes, we should be back same time, same place next week. But do that notification button in case we're not, and you come on early or late, you'll know where we are. Okay. But thank you so much again.